Welcome back to the Coolbet Canada podcast, episode number 9. Believe it or not, we're on to the 9th episode. This week, we have JD Bunkis, Coolbet brand ambassador, host of the Fan Morning Show. He's going to join us a little later, talk about March Madness, some Leafs, some Jays. Just myself, Pat Gregoire, and Coolbet Chris Abbott here. Jake Bolin Moss is down in Florida on a beach somewhere, probably partying with some spring breakers, enjoying himself. We haven't seen much from the social channels. I thought he was going to be throwing out his picks for March Madness. Arkansas picked up a big win, but still crickets from Jake. Well-deserved break for him, though, I must say. So just us two here today. But you're not home. That doesn't look like your background, or I guess you are technically home, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm home. I'm in the house I grew up in. Been visiting my parents for the last week or so. I do head back to Toronto for the weekend, but this is sitting at the same place where we celebrate all the birthdays out here in the kind of the family room, dining room combo. So it's been good. It's been great to get home and spend a lot of time with family.
I've never been to Newfoundland. That's somewhere that I want to go. I've been obviously to Nova Scotia, in Halifax quite a bit, but I do want to do a little East Coast swing. But I think for next year, I would like to be in Newfoundland around this time. It looked like St. Patty's Day was a heck of a time yesterday on George Street, wasn't it?
It was great, man. Yeah, I think I was trying to do the math, and I tried to do the math after I'd been drinking significantly. So, but I think it's been 8 years since I've been in St. John's for St. Patrick's Day. I think 2014 would have been the last one. So it was cool. It was great. I got to see, a local band that I watch or I watched all the time when I lived at home. They kind of closed out the show last night, but it's standard what you'd expect. The pubs opened at like 8 a.m., 9 a.m., entertainment all throughout the day. Food and drink, and I didn't go down until later, obviously. But once upon a time, I would have been one of those, try to pull the shift all day. It was kind of funny. It was kind of funny walking into it in the evening because you could see the people who had been there all day, just an absolute mess. And I'm like, how am I ever going to compete with this? And then as we got closer to the end of the night, it's like, oh, it's kind of thinning out here. Like people put in a good 10-hour shift, and they're like, I gotta go. So it was. Yeah. It was good.
I would be lying if I said in some of my younger days I didn't tap out on St. Patty's around 6 or 7. Or there's been the times where you go for a nap around 6 or 7, wake up a little bit, and then head back out. So no, St. Patty's Day, obviously me being an Irishman, love St. Patty's Day. Even as I get a little bit older, it's still a fun day. And then we had March Madness yesterday, which was awesome. Always a great time for bettors, and an even better time for cool bettors with our promotion, our risk-free bet. So every time, each round. So we had the first 4. Now we're on to round 1, $25 risk-free bet. Pretty awesome promotion. You shouldn't have to be enticed to bet on March Madness because of how fun it is, but this is a pretty awesome promotion that we got here at Coolbet, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You don't need the enticement, but who doesn't like placing a bet that the book, even if you lose, gives you your money back? So, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And listen, there's enough bets going around for March Madness that I think it's good for the book to at least cover one of your losses. Because as we've talked about, and we will talk about this tournament, it's a crapshoot. Kentucky goes out last night. So yeah, who knows? So yeah, we'll give you back one losing bet each round. I think that's fair.
Then why not sprinkle it on, like you said, St. Peter's, maybe one of these teams that aren't expected to go deep, but maybe it wins. If not, then you've got a bet for the next round. And Chris, I love you, man. Everyone's talking about March Madness. Everyone's talking about their bracket. And you just, at 10 o'clock yesterday, chime in with, it's the best time of year. Spring break betting or spring training betting. I was dying laughing because the whole timeline was all March Madness. And you're talking about spring training in the MLB and betting. And I heard you earlier this morning on the Fan Morning Show talking about it. And I love how honest you were. It's just fun. You bet it. There's no strategy behind it, but it's something that I might start sprinkling in because it is kind of just like playing the slots or playing the roulette table.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my slot machine Vegas Golden Knights t-shirt on as we talk here, but the yeah, it's you can't have an edge on a spring training game because you don't know. Like a starter might throw like 3 outs, and then they bring in a guy from rookie ball to come in behind him. Like you don't know. So yeah, I think I took the Red Sox at about like -115, and then that was early that I took it. And as it got closer to the game, the money actually started moving toward Minnesota. And then I checked the score last night, and Boston won 14-1. So, you know, it's ridiculous. But yeah, we were talking about it on the Fan Morning Show, and you know, Blake Murphy was like, well, you know, what's your strategy? And I said, buddy, there's no strategy. I said, you know, if you do, as the spring training goes along, you can probably see games where they use like the majority of an MLB lineup or something like that, or you hear that they're going to, you know, piggyback starters and make sure they get, you know, two of their rotation guys through or whatever a time through the order. So then you can, like, if you can grab, because the lines aren't sharp, the lines are like, you know, whoever's setting them and putting them up is also just making their best guess because they don't know what the managers are going to do. The stats don't matter. It's like, whose line is it anyway? You know, the points don't matter and the rules are made up. So, yeah, no, but it's fun, man. And like, it just, I love being like at my desk or whatever, working and then having a game in the background. It's the same reason I love betting, you know, afternoon starts in the regular season. Like, it's just cool. It's just cool. Yeah. And I, you know, you could do it with soccer or whatever, but you know, we're usually focused on our big four North American sports. So if we can get an early start, it's always better.
Yeah, and I find myself with spring training, maybe I'll tune in and throw the odd Blue Jays game on. But if you're betting on it and you have it up on MLB TV or whatever, it kind of entices you to watch, and you start learning a little bit more of guys that are maybe, you know, prospects or going to make it. And then you watch them during the season. So it does give you a little bit of a enticing to pay a little more attention to spring training ball. But I'm just glad we got baseball back because the last time I was on this show, yes, I know I wasn't on last week, but last time we were making jokes that we're probably not getting baseball this year, and if we do, it's not going to be for a while.
Yeah, we were worried that you know, if there was a season, it wouldn't be a full season, and you know, then they start canceling games. But then, you know, for the Jays, they missed. They're going to miss the opening series against the Orioles, and then one home series against Tampa. I was checking the schedule; they've added 2 doubleheaders against Tampa. And an extra day, a 3-game series to a 4-game series, or I think actually now with a doubleheader, it's a 4-game series to a 5-game series. And then they're going to go to Baltimore on at the end of the season and play 3 games. So 162 game schedule, 81 home games at the Rogers Center. Super excited. I don't think that's a secret for anyone who follows me or knows me. So it's great. And the Jays look really good.
Yeah, really good. And I think this is a good time to flip over to JD Bunkis, who I think we might go to a couple of baseball games with him this summer. And I think he's pretty pumped up about the Jays and, of course, the Leafs as well. So without further ado, we now bring on JD Bunkis, Coolbet Canada brand ambassador. We now welcome on to the show for the second time, JD Bunkis, host of the Fan Morning Show, Coolbet ambassador, and also maybe the most hated man on Toronto Instagram. I'll give you a soapbox here to kind of talk about it. But once again, something that someone said was taken out of clear context, put up on a particular Instagram site, just clearly for some clicks. So I'll let you have the floor to kind of discuss what you were trying to say and what's going on now.
No, honestly, man, it's no big deal. It's just like, that's what it is. This is the era we live in. It's like social media aggregation, and a lot of people who aren't aware of my work or if they already hate you, they want to dogpile you. And if they don't know you, then they're going to obviously go with the clip and they're not going to look at anything, whatever. It's fine, man. Like, it's pretty clear that it's a joke. I can't trade the Toronto Raptors. I'll try my best to get that level of power someday. So look out, City of Toronto. Like, I want that power, but I don't have it. But yeah, man, that's just social media. Like, I don't know. You can be disappointed in it. You can be, I don't know. you can get triggered by some of it every once in a while for sure. But I think that for the most part, it's unfortunately like one of those job hazards now that you just have. I kind of think I said to you guys before, where the weird part to me is that there's this section of social media where like there was this moment where all of a sudden we realized like people have a voice, and we've got to make sure that people are actually held accountable for horrible actions, or you can reach out to people for horrible things. And that's translated into like people being like these watchdogs that are like, I will now be controlling the speech, even if the speech I'm using is hate speech towards that person. It's quite an incredible thing to watch. So yeah, I don't know. You just mute the phone, you go offline, and have a day where you go watch my fans all day and get piled downtown.
Yeah. I don't get it either, man. Like, I went through the ringer there a few weeks ago as well. And it's like, you just said it the right way. Like, it's never constructive. First of all, I mean, mine even had an argument to it. The fact that anyone like, if they haven't listened to you before and that you go off on a tangent and that's super entertaining and, you're using exaggeration to make a point. I had to send a guy the definition of satire on my feed one time. And then, when things are printed, especially in your medium, which is audio and tone is so important. I mean, it's just so foolish. And then, it's always like,
but again, it's like, who cares? Like, it's just one of those things where you go like, I don't want to sound like I'm feeling self-sorry, because it's just like, hey, fine. If that actually offended somebody and made them feel some sort of way, then like, okay, that's too bad. But I would say like, my personal belief is that your priorities are like wildly out of place. Like, but yeah, I don't think it's about that, man. I think that people just want to feel like a part of a tribe. Like everybody wants to feel part of like a group. And it's like, I think there's something about ganging up together and being mad about something that's like, I don't know, something tribal in ourselves. Like you want to be a part of something, even if that something is weird and shitty. So whatever. Like I said, I don't really care. Although whenever you say I don't really care, it's like I care the most. It's like that sounds like there's no.
I don't care.
I don't care. I should say I don't really care. Like yeah, some of it obviously catches you at the wrong time and it bothers you. But I just mean like I definitely don't feel like any need of a like pity party or anything like that. I'm kind of like, oh, that's interesting. At first, when I saw it, I went, oh, that's hilarious that these dudes did this. I really didn't think it was going to be like a 24-hour news cycle thing. So whatever, I'll move on.
Yeah, we need the positive vibes rolling into March Madness. Like you said, you going out. I got to ask, because yesterday I thought it would be a great idea. I thought it would be funny just to spray the entire board blindly, some games, even games that I didn't like. I just had to have a piece of everything. What's your March Madness, especially for these first 4 days? Because there is literally nothing better on the sports calendar.
Okay.
What is your betting strategy? What do you do?
So one thing I've noticed is that, and this is, I think, the second year where I've really felt this way, is that all of a sudden my bracket doesn't matter as much, which kind of sucks.
Yes.
I love sports gambling, but like I kind of got into gambling because of brackets. Those are did you guys gamble on anything before a bracket? Maybe a hockey pool, right? A playoff hockey pool, that would have been the one. Or fantasy hockey. Or fantasy sports, right? Those are kind of the ways in. I would say fantasy football, office playoff hockey pool, or high school playoff hockey pool, and March Madness. Like those are the earliest ones. And March Madness for me was actually, weirdly enough, NBA All-Star Game was my first one, because my dad and I used to gamble on like picking each team and like picking all the players and then adding up their stats for the team you'd make. But either way, March Madness was my first one. But I kind of just throw my bracket together now with all upsets and go crazy with it. And then I sit down and do my betting strategy a little different. So first day betting strategy is always actually the most informed, where I sit down with it and I'm so excited and I'm looking at the first day board so much. Second day, same thing, where it's early morning, a little bit of prep. I've watched, you watch these teams throughout the year, especially when you're busy like I am, a few times max, right? And so you get the teams that you've seen a couple of times, and I usually just roll with them. And good or bad. Someone screwed me in gambling earlier in the season, then that means I'm going to go against them. Someone was profitable for me, like I went with the Dons last night, San Francisco. They lost in overtime. It was a good game, but they won me a bunch of money this year, so I was riding them on a money line parlay late. So yeah, I think I do just spray the board. I bet a lot of things. I don't usually bet the massive spreads, because it's just, to me, it's no fun really having a team that sucks. Like every once in a while you get that Peacocks hit, And I think that's fun. If you're going to do it, just bet the money line, have fun with it. Like, that's always my theory. If you think there's going to be a major upset, just bet the money line. Don't bet the spread. Bet the money line. Go with that. Every once in a while, I've done those. But I hate betting a massive favorite to cover like 18, 20 points and hoping for college kids to beat the brakes off of a college team by 20 plus points. That's never felt good to me. So I like the close games and then picking with my gut or with my heart or with that one team that I've seen like, well, I'm going with these guys today. Like, and the best example of this is I went to Miami this year. I watched the University of Miami play ball. I watched the Hurricanes, and they didn't cover. They won, but they didn't cover for me when I was there betting them as the home team. And they just weren't that impressive. And I watched a couple games of USC, and I liked them more. And now I'm laying my best bet of the day, heavy USC to beat University of Miami Hurricanes. Let's go. You're a football school. Get out of here.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I don't know if you're going to love it because that's probably my best bet of the day as well. So a little bit warning because I got murdered yesterday, absolutely murdered. But the games that I really liked that I did bet, they hit. It's just I just got caught up in the hoopla and I just wanted to bet everything and have a touch. And here's the thing.
That's the thing.
You don't really need to have a piece of every single game. The tournament's fun regardless. But, of course, you want to get a little action here and there. Chris, I know
like having a piece of most games.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Chris, I know you said you haven't paid much attention this year with March Madness. But, again, you got to have a little piece. Have you – I know you used to pay a lot of attention. Did you get anything last night or
no? Nothing. So
you got into something. You got into something last night.
Yeah, you got into something else last night.
You got something.
Yeah, I mean, I was on George Street for St. Patty's Day, so I was good. I was happy. I lost all my NHL bets, but I didn't have anything going for March Madness, and to be completely transparent, the last couple of weeks with all the regulatory stuff that's coming up for Coolbet, like I've been kind of in the office. I haven't gotten to have the fun that I usually get to have. It's been all business. But
I love that this guy's like getting bombed on St. Patty's Day. He's like, I just came back from Vegas. I just won like $20,000 in Vegas. And now I'm home and I'm getting bombed with the boys, the fellas. But I can't have the fun like I used to, guys. Like it's really sad being Chris over here. This is a tough time, but I'll get through it. I'll get through all this paperwork and this hard work. It'll be tough. Okay.
Okay. Let me. Yeah. Okay. So I haven't had time to sit down and watch as much sports as I usually do.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a better.
But what I do like to do, especially because I haven't really followed college basketball the last couple of years. But of course, this is so much fun to do. Like JD said, he's going to hang out with his buddies and just drink and gamble. And, they really do it right with the staggered start times and there's always something on. So what I like to do is grab a halftime underdog spread. That's what I like to do. Because especially if it's a little bit of a blowout in the first half, it generally tightens up at some point during the game or not. You might get like a 50-point blowout or something.
Marquette yesterday, that would have sucked in the Marquette game.
But that's something I like to do is look for live betting opportunities. But you got to be careful because it's like if you're live betting tennis or golf or whatever, you look down, you're like, why do I have this much on this game at all these different price points? So,
but dude, this is why this time of year is so fun. It's because, listen, we try to trick ourselves a lot of times into believing that we're sharps, right? All of us are sharps, and even the sharps, it's just laughable, right? Like, how many times have you gotten the sharp pick and it doesn't hit? I love how people act as though the sharp money is the winning money. It's the dumbest thing. Sports gambling is impossible. If it was easy, we'd all be millionaires. That's why whenever those places go, oh, it's a paid account that gives you gambling tips, I go, this guy's making so much money. Why is he a paid account? Like, he should be fine giving away his free tips. He should be more over the moon that everybody notices him. No, it's a business of everyone going with their guts and a little bit of information, a little bit of piece of something. I think one of the beauties of betting on March Madness is it's the ultimate coin flip time where nobody knows and everybody's going in blind and everyone's walking in going, you know what? My uncle went to Arizona and so I'm going to bet Arizona tonight. And then when they win, you just like, it's fun. It's a fun way of kind of taking some of the stress off of gambling because I think for all of us, we just have like our models we look at, the trends we look at, the injury reports, the blah, 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 blah. And March Madness is just kind of like, we get back to that root of gambling, which is just, dart, boards, see board, throw dart, hit board, go for it. Like, that's the beauty of this time. It's the best time of the sports gambling calendar for that reason. Like, I love it. It's truly better than anything else, I think. One, the volume, like, it's just like you lose, you're like, oh, who cares, next game. But you know what's the worst day of the year? The worst day of the year is the Monday, this upcoming Monday, because you go from a million basketball games of gambling on to nothing, and you're a heroin addict. You're the scene of what's it called? You're the train spotting scene where you're seeing the baby on the ceiling, and you're like, where's the basketball?
It's true. You come off four straight days and there's nothing there. You're looking at the board, scraping at an NBA game or some sort of hockey game, and it just doesn't give you the same itch. But also that morning there's nothing going on, so you're gonna have to look across the pond for some hockey game or whatever's going on, and it's just not there. It's so true. It's the worst day of the year.
JD, I do really like your point about it's almost the innocence of sports betting. It's like, I'm gonna pick this team, and if they win, I win money. That's great. And that's it. You know? Yeah. No, none of this like me last night.
And you watch them, they're amateurs, right? Like, you see them missing these free throws and end of game where guys choke and they throw the ball away. Like, I had Memphis yesterday. Memphis up 19 at halftime. They went almost 7 minutes without a field goal, and it becomes this incredible sweat for me because you can see, like, they're tensing up and they're kids and they don't know how to deal with this moment. They don't know how to get into an offense, and one guy gets into foul trouble that can handle the ball, and all of a sudden they're a college team that doesn't have another ball handler. Like, it's incredible. So it's all about this action, this sweat. You know what we got to do for branding for Coolbet is just like embrace the sweat. That's got to be the brand of the brand, is just embrace the sweat, enjoy the sweat. There's nothing better than winning after the sweat, like nothing. And yes, today downtown with a buddy, getting to bet this USC game and going all in on this and getting to sit there and freak out over a team where when they're going to bring in a backup, we're not going to know how to pronounce his name. Like, yes, let's do this. It's great.
Yeah. And then you'll have a special place in your heart for that program for the next 10 years, even though none of the kids are there. They probably have a different coaching staff, but they won you some money, 5-6 years ago. So you have to trust them. I love it. So obviously we're super passionate about March Madness, but something that I think we're all really dialed in right now, especially you, JD, and of course, Chris, the Blue Jays. Like, it is, we went from, damn, we might not have a season to the Jays going to win the World Series. So JD, I got to ask you, from 1 to World Series, how happy or how optimistic should Blue Jays fans be?
1 to World Series. What's the in between? You're like, the scale seems to be here. They're the worst team in the league, or they win the World Series. I'm like, this is a tough
pretty much,
scale.
yes. Yeah. Should they be going in level-headed, or is this a team that legitimately can?
Okay, so it's weird for me because I actually don't usually love futures on the home team, because if they win, I'm not really caring about my bank account. Like, it's just not a part of the, like, I don't remember betting on the Raptors once during the championship run. Like, I don't think I did, because you're just so fueled by the intensity of those games that it takes a lot of money for me to like outbalance the fandom element of it. I would say that with the Blue Jays, though, this is a rare case where, depending on what you believe about that Carlos Baerga report, that they have an 85% chance of landing Jose Ramirez, or just the continued smoke around Jose Ramirez, that's the part of this where I go, maybe you're getting good value right now, right? Like, they jumped after the Chapman deal. What did they jump from, Chris? Do you know?
They were 18 last week, and I think they were at like 9 or 10 after that. We might have had them at 12 for a little bit.
Yeah, I saw them at 12. So they've continuously dropped down to below 12. See, that's too much for me with any World Series team, because it's like you still play in the same division as the Yankees, the Rays, and the Red Sox. Okay, like, still the American League East, and there's more playoff teams, but baseball is just such a tough sport. It's such a long sport, injuries, all this different stuff. So I would have said, if you could have grabbed the plus 1,200 ahead of the Jose Ramirez trade, I'd be feeling pretty good about a number like that. But like, I think Matt Chapman projects as a like 4-win player, right? You don't jump from plus 1,800 to plus 1,200 or plus 900. Like, that's a crazy leap. gambling wise to go from that to that based on a third baseman who's going to hit 7th in the order and albeit bring you, platinum level type of glove. So if you think they're going to bet Jose Ramirez or bring in Jose Ramirez, I would say that you're betting it now. But if I was a futures betting person with the Blue Jays, I would rather wait until the hype dies down a little bit and monitor that number throughout the season or as we get closer to the season. Because I don't think they're going to make the Ramirez trade before the year starts. If it happens, I think it's going to happen during the season. If the ask is what the ask is, to me, the Blue Jays might look at it and go, we always wield the hammer. We always have the final, we can go over the top with prospects and players like no other team right now with what they've got in their pool and where they are in their competitive line. But if I'm them, I play out the season. I see where I'm at come around the deadline. I see where Cleveland's at come around the deadline. And then that becomes so you guys are going to miss the playoffs this year and you're going to go to next season on his final expiring deal and then just try to trade him. No, trade him now, trade him to us. We'll give you a top end prospect. We'll give you the Moreno or Elvis Martinez level guy. We'll throw in a bunch of extra stuff around it. We'll get this done in season. But as of right now, I think that's actually maybe, there's a long-winded answer, but that's actually maybe what one of my betting philosophies would be is don't bet the team that's getting all the hype in the moment on a futures bet. Like you're not getting a good number. That's actually a time where if you're what I call a happiness hedge better, that's where you look at the rest of the division. You go, what are the Rays just in case? Like what are some of the other teams in the division? And I know that's blasphemy in today's day and age to say anything about not the local team, but yeah, no, I just think like whoever gets hype, that's to avoid. Same with Denver Broncos. You saw with Russell Wilson the other day, right? Denver Broncos get Russell Wilson. And they jump up in the book massively. And you go, these guys are in the AFC West with Patrick Mahomes. They're right there with Justin Herbert. They might have gotten the third best quarterback in the division. Why are they all
Devontae Adams showed up yesterday too.
But that's what I mean is like, don't jump on the hype train right away. Like you're not getting a good price. The book already beat you, okay? You're never getting a good price. And if you did beat the book, now there's going to be investigations into you because that's what happened with Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. You guys see that story?
No, but I got them at 35, so I'm thrilled.
The Buccaneers, there were all these massive bets placed the week before Tom Brady announced he was returning to the Bucs on the Bucs. And so they've been asked, Vegas is asking the NFL to investigate if something fishy happened here, which sucks, but this is now with the connection of the leagues and the gambling. It's like we're going to see more stories like the Calvin Ridley stuff, but yeah, that's what's out there. So even if you do get an edge, you might end up with a slip from a local law enforcement going, do you know Tom Brady? What's your connection to Tom Brady?
Information gets out in the market, and it always has, and that's how lines move, and that's where the sharp guys get their value and all that. But I guess it would depend on exactly what kind and where from these bets came in. But yeah, if someone's like, yeah, man, I was talking to Tom, I see he's practicing, like, then you just go make that bet because it's obvious. But I agree with you on the wait for in season, wait for a lull and don't take the hot, sexy pick when it's happening. I did put a little bit down on them around 10-1. And I don't generally do that. I got excited. I got caught up and I was like, well, if they win, I'll take this.
It's easy to, right?
Yeah.
But that happens. All I'm saying is that I usually try to avoid betting in those moments. The same thing is like, I would equate it to this. Like, you ever live bet a football game and a team scores a touchdown? Do you automatically just bet the over now? Like the adjusted over is like, no, like the touchdown just happened. Just wait a second. Like if an underdog, you just said it, Chris, you're the type that goes, I like to bet the team that's losing in March Madness at halftime is like, that's because that's when you get the most value usually is when the in-game line adjusts and overcorrects for something. One of my favorite bets is hockey games where there's a lot of scoring in the first period, right? Where there's a lot where you get like a 3-4 first, something insane like that, which is a ton of goal scoring. And you go, no, you know what I'm going to do is now I'm going to play the under for the rest of the game because not every period is going to be like this. So I would just advocate of if you like sports betting, it depends what your aims are, right? Like for us, I think in general, for the three of us, we love it as an entertainment product. So if betting them at plus 1,000 for the season adds to your entertainment product, if every single game of the year you're going to have some type of juice on the Jays, sick. And if you break it down too, like what's the cost per game of you putting a futures bet, right, on them? then you go, well, maybe that's the sharpest bet you can make. But if your goal is to get value or to try to actually make money off the Blue Jays winning a World Series, I would say that you'll probably be able to find that in better ways later down the line.
Yeah, and let me just say, when we're talking about that trade, the day they ship out Manoah, that's the day I give up, because I think that guy he's awesome. He is unbelievable. I'm so excited about him. Yeah,
he's 100% on the no trade list, Chris. Like, I have this on the best authority that if they trade for Jose Ramirez, the highest they would go up is Nate Pearson. They're not going up and touching the front end. What's the point of trying to win a World Series when you're taking a bunch of wins away from a pitcher and then translating them into a guy that's a second baseman? Like, that doesn't make sense. They won't do that.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's really exciting, man. They're a really deep team. Like, I think right now the only hole, well, there's two. There's a couple. Second base is still something that needs to be sorted. Although, defensively, if you had to and play Santiago Espinal there, I think you're fine. Or if Kevin Biggio, resurrects his game, I think you're fine. Catching is going to be interesting to see what they do. Like, I think if you could meld all the catchers together, you'd have a really good catcher. And then it's always the bullpen. What's the bullpen going to look like? Starting out, it looks like it should be pretty good. But how do guys throw? How's the health and all that? And then when Pete puts the magic dust on Yusei Kikuchi, that's the other thing. I'm really excited.
Yeah, no, they're going to be a good team. And I think that if you've got two guys like that at second base right now, it's not urgent. And that's, again, why I don't think you need to rush out and then make the Ramirez trade right now. Is you've got a lefty bat in Kevin Biggio that draws walks. And then you've got a plus glove that can be a streaky hitter in Espinal from time to time. That's not bad down your lineup. I think the catching is quality. Like, they still have three guys that can play. Danny Jansen finished the year with a swing adjustment that really worked for him, and he was raking, if you remember, at the end of the season. I got the bullpen's in a better state than it was going into last year, and we have real information now ever since they got rid of the old sticky stuff. So, no, I'm with you, buddy. I'm high on the Jays. I really like the Jays. I genuinely believe that they're the favorites in the division now. My only point was about value and how it's like, I'm not going to – for plus 800, I'm not going to watch 162 games. Like, I just don't have the constitution for that, boys. Like, I can get plus 8 – I'll just bet plus 800 when the Jays go down 4 or 5 runs and go like, you know what? I believe in this offense to get me back in this game. It's one game moment. Like, I'll do that.
So you guys know how I hate like the media when it's like dissecting Wayne Simmons' contribution to the lineup or like what Kyle Clifford brings. And JD, that's funny because we've had this conversation before about giving.
Kyle Clifford, okay.
I do. I'm like, why I even cared? I'm like, why are they? Well, of course they're signing whatever. But here,
nobody cares about the Leafs more than guys who hate the Leafs. Like, it's just like not even.
People think I hate them, which is actually couldn't be further from the truth. They just drive me crazy.
Nothing could be further from the truth, Pat. Did you hear that? Nothing. Like, nothing could be further from the truth than Chris not liking the Leafs. That's it. Nothing could be. Nothing.
No, I'm critical of them. But anyway, to the
point. We get texts from Chris at like 2:00 in the morning, randomly being like, "Why is the Leafs this? They look like couldn't be further from the truth." Yeah, all right. Yeah, got it.
But anyhow, all that is what I was trying to bring around to say is the thing that I hate the most is the thing that I'm about to do. I'm like, I wonder where Breivik Valera fits in all this. Like, this is what's in my head. I'm like, is he an opening day roster guy? I don't know. Kind of like him. What do they do? Breivik Valera. Why do I care? But I do.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? That's just a weird, a diehard sports fan thing. Is that what are you supposed to say about the guys at the top of a lineup, right? You go, they're awesome. They're going to be there, right? Like, what's the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. thought? He's awesome. I love him. Like,
how many games
what
can
else
play?
is there?
No,
but everybody that loves sports and deeply wants to play manager or coach or whatever, and that's the kind of decisions you have to make, right? It's why we get so mad about the bullpen. We go, I would have used this guy in the bullpen. No one's arguing over whether Vladdy should hit in the top of the order. Like, it's just you imagine doing that. I think Vladdy, what they should do is put him sixth, and you go, well, you're stupid. That's not a thing that anybody does. Well, end of discussion, end of debate, right? Just like you can't even make a fun argument for something like that. So I'm all in on these guys, and I can't wait. I'll be home betting. Obviously, I'm going to be going to so many games this year, and I'm just going to be ripping them. Blue Jays -1.5, and all the prices are going to be way out of whack, and it's going to suck.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be like the Leafs, where the Leafs every single night I go to look to bet the Leafs, and they go like the Leafs have their third string goalie in net, and they're playing a team, and they're -400. I'm like, okay, the book won't allow it, so.
I agree. It's going to be hard to bet the Jays. So I think it's going to have to be like, total bases stuff and individual parts of the game, because, I think they are going to be hard to bet, or first 5 over under based on the starting pitching matchups and things like that. But yeah, money line is going to be tough. And then you hate laying the -1.5 at home, because they might not hit in the bottom of the 9th, or they can walk it off in the bottom of the 9th. So it's always touchy there.
I'm sure we'll find a way to bet them while we're at the ballpark. I can't wait to get back into that ballpark. It's you talk about how fun March Madness betting is. Well, going to an actual baseball game and having money, that's one of the best things as well. All three of us are here. We've already dived into a little bit of a Leaf discussion. So anytime us three are in a group chat or online here, we have to talk about the Leafs. We have to talk about Erik Shulgren. Is he the savior, JD, or can we be a little bit level-headed here? Is he going to at least be able to keep the Leafs afloat until whether either A, Jack Campbell comes back and he starts playing like himself, or B, maybe they go out and get another backup? We have a little bit of a tandem here.
I think that they're going to make a trade for a backup. I don't know how Dubas could go in and say that they're going to have a possibility of a Shulgren situation. To me, Mrazek is done. That's clear. Like, you can't really go back to him. Maybe he gets another start as a Maple Leaf, but I'm guessing that he ends up with the Marlies, and then during the offseason they have a conversation of, hey, do we give up assets to trade him, or does someone else want him, or can we release, or can we just cut him and end up having it where you have a buyout, and go over all the pros and cons of that with Mrazek. Maybe even bring him back and let him get a fresh start next year. But this year, I don't think that you can put anything on him. Shulgren, to me, is doing what everybody wants goalies in this market to do right now, which is just stop the easy ones and stay in the blue paint. The part that's driven people nuts about Mrazek is that some of the goals he lets in, he's completely out of his net. He's in a different area code. And that's a hard thing to swallow when you're a hockey fan. And I get it. He can make the odd big save, and he's super athletic, and when you're used to doing that as a goaltender, you can lose yourself a little bit, but you're not Dominic Hasek, buddy. Like, stay in the net. Stay in the freaking net. And so for this team right now that's had bad goaltending since January, when they start looking back there and a guy is swimming around and the puck's in there and they're fishing it out and the goaltender has to get back into the blue, that's a frustrating thing. So I don't think Shulgren is obviously some type of a savior. I have a little fun saying, like, he's been great, and I'd roll with him right now while he's hot, because I think that goalies are – people like to say goalies are voodoo, right? And I agree. And I actually think that – and, man, I'm almost saying this so often now that I'm lame, but I've been trying to get this be, like, my take forever, because I've had it forever, which is I've always thought that goaltenders were trending the way of running backs, where you only pay the very, very, very best, the identity goaltenders, and everybody else you say, like, see you later, but you can come back on a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal, and that's it. We're never giving you term. We're never giving you big money. We'll take lottery tickets over you. Like, there's too many guys. There's these. Look at what's happened this year, right? Look at the goalies this season. How many guys are thrilled about what their situation is? How many times do we have this happen where we think someone's going to be the next Cujo and they end up being just like, whatever? Look at what's happened with Spencer Knight, right? And I'm not saying he's not going to be a stud someday, but it's just like, or Carter Hart is another example of this, where it just these guys, we write them off. Or Carey Price in the opposite way, where people go, Carey Price is washed, and then he gets in the playoffs, he takes them to the Stanley Cup because he's got that pedigree. Like, we thought Marc-Andre Fleury was a choker, and then he, knocked out Wash in that series, and he goes to Vegas, and he's amazing. It's just too hard to pin these guys down. So for me, if I'm the Leafs, I go out and I get another lottery ticket before the playoff run. I let Shulgren play out this stretch. But if I'm if I'm going with sharp guy brain, like here now, I'm putting on sharp hat, like no longer fan hat. I'd be fading the Leafs this entire week, because Shulgren has been good, but he's also been like, you want to talk about St. Patty's Day magic. They got pummeled last night. They were getting pummeled, and it's like, how is the puck staying out of the net? You think about that first game against the Stars, that puck that got batted out of the air, that I was like, oh, that's in. They're going to review. That's in. And somehow it didn't. Like, he had his skate up against the post. It didn't go in. He's been solid. No doubt. He deserves credit. So much credit, man. Not taking anything away from this kid whatsoever. But hockey is a game of bounces, and he's gotten all the bounces these last 2 games.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Matthews comes back. That changes the math a little bit. You probably lost some good value on stuff like that. But, yeah, I don't think Shulgren's going to be letting in 1 or less every night. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, well, you guys know, I thought the line for Carolina was way too good to be true last night. Turns out it was. But like you said, I mean, I looked at the shots on goal, and I wasn't watching the game closely, but I looked and I was like, of course they're losing, but they've doubled the Leafs in shots. Like, of course they have. And then I saw the highlight this morning, like the first goal Freddie let in. I was like, where are you going? Come back, bud. But yeah, I mean, I think you're bang on, JD. Like, he's a goalie who's definitely gotten the bounces. He's been fine. He's been good. One of the things I do like about him is he doesn't seem to leave a whole lot of rebounds lying around, and that's an area where the Leafs defense right now does struggle because they're outmatched a lot of the time. So if he's able to hold on to the puck, or put it in the corner or whatever, then that's great. But good point. I mean, if he was the savior, we probably would have known before now. But then again, Jordan Binnington got called up and won a Stanley Cup and has been, to me, average since. I shouldn't say that because he had a couple of good years after. But I mean, you're right.
I think you're closer to that.
I think you're pretty spot on. Yeah.
I mean, so I think that's kind of how it is. I think you're right. Like, if you can get a guy that can, like, put lightning in a bottle for a few months, great. Yep. But yeah, when you're giving them like a $5-6 million ticket, then you have a huge expectation. And that's hard to live up to. Not many guys do.
Yeah. And to bring your point, JD, like, how many times, I know we didn't get the Olympics this year, but so many different names were thrown out to be Team Canada's goalie. And realistically, if the NHLers went, it probably would have been Carey Price and Marc-Andre Fleury. But everyone was trying to make Binnington the answer and all these other names that pop up. But at the end of the day, it's those identity goalies that have been doing it for so long. So I'm totally buying into that. It's unless you have a guy that is an absolute stud and an absolute franchise goaltender, I'm not giving him a ticket. Like Campbell. Like, are we really that surprised Campbell's fallen off the face of the earth? He's been a career backup his whole life. Hopefully he can bounce back.
I won't be surprised if he's bounced. That's it. And we can't be surprised if he plays well and he rebounds back into the form he was showing in the early part of the season.
Yeah, I think part of that too is, like, he's never had to be the guy. He's a good goalie, obviously, we know that. But also, you run him out there as much. I mean, he's not used to playing that much or in those situations either, right? Maybe this time off will be good for him. Hopefully,
I certainly think it will. So. Yeah. JD, you mentioned you put on your sharp hat. Now I want you to put on your GM hat. You already said the goaltender backup. That's something you think they're going to bring in. What is your ideal trade? Doesn't have to be a name. If you want to throw a name out there, that works as well. But what's the one thing that you'd like to see the Leafs do heading into the stretch run here?
The only reason I won't throw out a name is because to me, it's all about value. It's all about value right now. For some teams, if you're the Florida Panthers, then you can afford to go out and spend a first and a fourth to go get Ben Sherratt or whatever they're going to pay for Claude Giroux, because you're trying to get some excitement behind your team. You have all the assets in the cupboard, right? You're at the very beginning of your competitive window. Push all in. The Leafs kind of did a similar thing early on by not trading JVR, right? They went a different route where they didn't necessarily spend a lot of draft picks early, but they didn't bring things back because they wanted to roll the dice and go into these postseason runs. I don't think Toronto has the assets to be doing crazy types of business where they just go and add whoever they want for whatever price the market has set. To me, they have to be shopping in the bargain bin aisle. They've got to figure it out. They got to go and find, oh wow, this is on sale. Okay, well, we could use this. Like, this is something that we need. Let's go get this. You can't just be going into the fancy store and going up to the Whole Foods and just running around and racking up a bill here. They can't do it. Like, they cannot do it. They don't have the future picks. They don't have the prospect depth. To me, it is and it always has been, if someone was offering you a right shot D that had some term or that you thought fit perfectly next to Morgan Riley, then you could go into the cupboards and reach for that A1 stock, that top end prospect, that number one pick type of deal, like that kind of stuff. Short of that, you just can't do it. You need to be patient. You need to wait. I think that they could use a forward, they could use a blue liner, and they could use a goaltender. That's a lot of things to try to address for a cup contender.
Yeah.
To me, I look at them right now and say, ideally, where I think that they could upgrade the most easily is by adding a forward that plays with Tavares, because Tavares, I believe, is still a very good player. And I think Nylander is a good player, but the two of them have just not fit together. And so I'd like to be able to have somebody that like brings a little bit of spark to their marriage, or who can be Tavares' partner if they want to move Nylander off that line at any point and experiment with some other stuff. But because I just don't see the right shot defenseman out there, and I don't think he is, because if he was, I don't think Ben Sherratt's going for a first and a fourth, and I don't think that Josh Manson's going for a second and a top end prospect like that. Those are high prices. So I don't see the name out there on the blue line. I think that you're grabbing a lottery ticket goalie. Again, whatever goalie that you think is okay and comes the cheapest, that's who you grab. If it's James Reimer, if it's Anton Forsberg, whoever it is that becomes available for, that same Daniel or David Rittich price from a year ago, that's what you do. You spend the third round pick. But other than that, like I weirdly, for the first time in a while, I don't really want the Leafs to be aggressive at a deadline, and I kind of want them to be patient going this offseason and realize, like, you've still got 2 more years of Matthews. You've still got time left with Marner. You don't need to hurt your ability to build around them for the next 2 seasons just because you get overly excited about this one.
Is a first round playoff win crucial this year, or do you think expectations have been tempered that, okay, we're in a really tough spot here no matter who we play?
I just think, like, okay, I don't know. It crucial. Maybe I'll feel different when they're in it, like I always do. But as of right now, it's just like they're going to play the Panthers or the Lightning or the Bruins in the first round. And if you don't have enough of a brain to realize that, like, that's going to be really hard to win, like, I don't know. They lose that. I don't think you learn that much. It's just like last year was more frustrating to me because you lost to the Habs. You had this chance to go to the conference finals that was just like paved in front of you, and you choked. It was embarrassing. This year's different. This year is Austin Matthews continue to develop. Marner's continue to develop. You know what I need to see in the playoffs? I need to see those guys not choke. I don't care, honestly. Like, I do care if they lose. I'll be sad if they lose. I want them to win, obviously, but I just need to see that Matthews and Marner are the same guys in the playoffs that they were in the regular season. And if I see that and they lose in 6 games or 7 games to the Panthers or Lightning, I'm not going to cry about fire Dubas or fire everyone or trade Marner again. Like, that's not going to happen for me. What it's going to be is, I think that there's certainly a conversation we had about changing the front office and saying, like, hey, who gets to handle these final 2 years of Matthews? Who has the final 2 years of the stewardship? But I'm not having a meltdown about the core or like those 2 guys the same way if they go perform in the postseason, or like the first round doesn't change things. Like, what happens? Okay, so you win in the first round and then you lose in the second. Like that for me, it's win a cup. Go win a cup. I'm not looking back on my Leafs memories as a kid and was how great it was to go to the conference finals and lose to Carolina. That was devastating, right? Like, I don't know. I want to see him win. And how do you get Austin Matthews to a cup? That's the question. Not how do you get out of the first round.
We need to bring Brian McCabe back. Get a little grit back there.
Yeah, a little mohawk.
Yeah,
little
half goater. Yeah.
Half goatee, dyed blue mohawk. That's what they need. Yeah.
I said it. I said William Nylander just needed to grow a goatee, and Toronto fans, the William Nylander haters, would start to buy in, and I think they did for a while. But then he shaved, and now they're back off of him. So, and yes, that was a little bit of a ricochet shot to Jake Bolin Moss, who's not here today, but known William Nylander.
Can't show his face. Can't show his face around me after his horrible bad. That he dragged me into. Love it.
Jake's kicking it on the beach this week, so he won't even see this.
Don't come back. Don't come back,
Jake. He said it, not me. But we know you got to head over to the pub soon. So before we let you go, any weekend wagers, anything you like? I know there's UFC London. It's not a pay-per-view, but pretty good card. Or you just sticking with March Madness? Anything on the board that you like?
I'm pretty much just March Madness all the way through the weekend, boys. Like, and I'm kind of rolling and going live. So again, like, you know the drill. If you listen to this podcast, you've probably already gotten a promo code or you've gotten everything. But you just follow on the socials, and I'll just still be banging out bets as I see them coming in. But know that I told you I'm throwing darts at the board this weekend. The account is for the darts.
I love it.
I love it. All right, JD, thanks so much. Good luck with the bets today and all weekend long. We'll have to have you back again, maybe closer to Jay's season playoffs, but we'll have you on again. Maybe Jake will be able
to. You guys will.
Done. We'll have you more. Yeah. We had to go through the ringer first, but don't worry, we'll have you back on soon. We'll have you back on soon.
Yeah. He's in a race with Huss now for the 5-timers club. Like in Saturday Night Live. Yeah. You got to get on the 5-timers track.
Yeah, I got to beat Hustler. I really have to beat Hustler. There's no pressure. I'll be devastated if he beats me. All right, fellas. This was fun.
Awesome, buddy. Take care. That was JD Bunkis of the Fan Morning Show, Coolbet brand ambassador as well. Always fun to have him on, and now the challenge is on. It's him for versus Haas for the title for most reoccurring guest.
Yeah, I mean, and they both want. I don't know how we're going to go about it. I mean, maybe we'll have to do the Canadian thing and have them both on at the same time for their 5th episode. But they'll be talking about who actually logged in first to get onto the call. So, both great guys, obviously, and JD is he's entertaining. He makes the hyperbolic statements, but he's actually a really, really smart, level-headed sports guy. And I think we saw it there in that conversation, where he was tempered about the Blue Jays. He was tempered about the Leafs. Everything isn't, the sensationalistic Toronto media take. It's he's when he's not being JD Bunkis, the morning show host, and you just chat sports with him, then you get to see a little more insight into how he really views it.
And I think it would be a lot better if it was maybe on TV or if you had a stream of it, because when he goes on those tangents, he's got the biggest smile on his face because he knows what he's doing, and it is entertaining. And to go back on what we were talking at the start, like for people to assume like he, one, was being serious, two, he's a huge Raptors fan. Like when the Raptors won the championship, like that was one of his biggest, like he said, the biggest sporting moments as a fan. So like for people to actually believe that he meant that, it's like, no, like this guy loves the Raptors. Blake Murphy said on the show this morning, like before I even started working at Sportsnet, I would come on to the show with him and Ben Ennis, and the amount of time and the insightful conversations that he would have, with Blake about the Raptors, like he really appreciated that. And he was really, when they first started talking, surprised with how much he knew about the Raptors and how passionate he was about the Raptors. So good on Blake for standing up, because obviously he is very, very well respected in the Raptors and the basketball community. So hopefully people can start laying off him, because it was clearly a shtick. It was a joke, and he was having fun with it. That's what it's all about, having fun, honestly, right?
The people who get fired up, like find something better to do with your time. Like go be a productive member of society. Like, don't read into things that people say off the cuff. Like, it's not like he came out and said the Raptors are trash. We should see, 6 times more Leafs games than Raptors games because, the Raptors suck and who wants them here anyway? No, I mean, arguably JD's a bigger Raptors guy than he is a Leafs guy, and NBA in general. He knows a lot about the NBA. So, he wouldn't get into it too much. He doesn't want to draw too much attention to it. But I think, or maybe he just really doesn't care, which is good, because I just think, we went through this a couple weeks ago on our show here. Like, people just got to get a life, man. You just got to get a life. If somebody does or says something that is like really actually insensitive or whatever, you sure hold them accountable. But every single thing getting scrutinized like that I got no time for that.
Yeah, no time for it whatsoever. And speaking of no time, it looks like we almost have no time here. So we want to thank everyone for tuning in or watching wherever it may be. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, shame on you. Hit the subscribe button down there. Every time a new episode or a clip drops on YouTube, you will find out as well. And of course, if you're listening or if you're watching and want to listen to this, head to wherever you subscribe to your favorite podcast. Give us a subscribe. Give us a 5-star rating. That will also help as well. So do all of that. Or if you don't want to, just listen in, just watch. That also helps as well. We have no weekend wagers this week, so stay tuned to our social media channels, whether it's at Coolbet Canada or, of course, at Coolbet Chris or at P. Greggy on Twitter, at a 22 at the end on Instagram. And whoever's at P. Greggy on Instagram, if you're watching right now, let's have a conversation because I need that handle. Having the 22 is an absolute buzzkill at the end of that. So we have to discuss. We'll take this offline. I need that handle. But in all seriousness, again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Enjoy the March Madness. Enjoy the sports. This is one of the best times to be a cool better. Again, go to coolbet.com. If you're not already a cool better, hit that little green button, log in, sign up. And we will have a lot of promotions going on this week and the upcoming weeks as well. For everyone here at Coolbet Canada, stay cool.